Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yatha Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shivishkam Vitam Cha Om Agyana Timaranda Shagyana Shana Shalakaya Chakshurum Lidam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Nama Gorva Bishtam Supurakam Gurganara Sesha Sambhushitam Chintya Samasta Veda Nipanam Shri Rupa Patanagam Govinda Bidam Ujwalam Bharatanum Bhaktyan Vidam Sundaram Bande Vishwagurun Shah Divyat Bhagavat Prem Noe Bija Pradam Devam Divyatanam Suchanavaranam Balarka Shelanchitam Sandrananda Puram Sadeka Varanam Vairagya Vidyambunim Sri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Baram Bandetam Shubharam Mareka Sharanam Yashishvara Shidaram Vanshakopatarubyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gora Chavishe Nama. So we're hearing from the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, translation and commentary by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This is Madhya-lila, chapter 10, the Lord's return to Jagannath Puri. Tambande Gora Jaladam Svasya yo darshanamritai Vichedava graham mlana bhakta shashyani ajivayat. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is compared to a cloud that pours water on fields of grain, which are like devotees suffering due to a shortage of rain. Separation from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is like a drought, but when the Lord returns, his presence is like a nectarian rain that falls on all the grains and saves them from perishing. It's like a very big garland.
I thought so.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all glories to Nityananda Prabhu, all glories to Sri Advaita Chandra, and all glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. Purbe Jabe Mahaprabhu Chalila Dakine Prataparudhra Rajatabe Bolaila Sarvabhauma. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu departed for South India, King Prataparudhra called Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya to his palace. Basite asana dila kore namaskare Mahaprabhu Bhattatabe puchila tahare. When Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya met with the king offered him a seat with all respects and inquired about news of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Shuni laya tomar gare eka mahashai goda hoite ailate ho mahakripa moy. The king said to the Bhattacharya, I've heard that a great personality has come from Bengal and is staying at your home. I've also heard that he is very, very merciful. Tomare bahu kripa koila kohe sarvajan kripa kore koraha more tahara darshan. I've also heard that this great personality has shown you great favor. At any rate, this is what I hear from many different people. Now, being merciful upon me, you should do me the favor of arranging an interview. You should arrange that I can have his darshan. Batakohe jay shunila sab satyohoy tara darshan tomargata nahoy. The Bhattacharya replied, all that you have heard is true, but as far as darshan is concerned, it is very difficult to arrange. Virakta sannyasi teho rahina nirjane Swapneha na korahateho rajadarshane. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in the renounced order and is very detached from worldly affairs. He's a virakta sannyasi. He's very, very strict. He stays in solitary places, and even in dreams he does not grant darshan to a king. Tatapri prakare tomaha koraitama darshan samprapti korilateho dakina gaman. Still, I would have tried to arrange this for you, but he has recently left to tour South India. Rajako he Jagannath Chari Kenigela Vatako he Mahan Terra Ekalila. The king asked, why has he left Jagannath Puri? The Bhattacharya replied, such are the pastimes of a great personality. This is Leela. Tirtha pavitra korite kore tirtha brahman sechale nishtaraye samsarika. Great saints go to holy places of pilgrimage in order to purify them. For that reason, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is visiting many tirthas and delivering many, many conditioned souls. Bhavadvida Bhagavatas Tirti Bhuta Swayam Vimo Tirti Korvanti Tirtani Svantastena Gadabrita. Saints of your caliber are themselves places of pilgrimage. Because of their purity, they are constant companions of the Lord, and therefore they can purify even the places of pilgrimage. This verse was spoken by Maharaj Yudhishthir to Vidura. Vaishnavara ehoy ek swabhava nischala teho jiva nahin hana swatantra ishvara. A Vaishnava travels to places of pilgrimage to purify them and reclaim fallen conditioned souls. This is one of the duties of a Vaishnava. Actually, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not a living entity, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Consequently, he is a fully independent controller, yet in his position as a devotee, he carries out the activities of a devotee. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur points out that because there are many permanent residents in holy places who do not precisely follow the rules and regulations governing living in a sacred place, exalted devotees go to these places to reclaim such persons. This is the business of a Vaishnava. A Vaishnava is unhappy to see others materially enmeshed. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught these activities of a Vaishnava, although he is the worshipable deity of all Vaishnavas, the complete and independent Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is Purusha Shuddho Nityamukto. Purusha Shukta. Pardon me. He is Purna Shuddho Nityamukta, completely uncontaminated and eternally liberated. He is Sanatan, where he has no beginning or end. Can you see if there's a cough drop in that red jacket? He'll do it. Rajako he tare tumi chaite kene dile paya pare yatna kore kene na rakile. Upon hearing this, the king replied, why did you allow him to leave? Why didn't you fall at his lotus feet and keep him here? No, okay, never mind. Bhattacharya kohe. Upon hearing this, the king replied, why did you allow him to leave? Why didn't you fall at his lotus feet and keep him here? Bhattacharya kohe teho svayam ishvaratan swatantra sakat Shri Krishna teho nahi paratantra. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya replied, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is completely independent, being Lord Krishna himself. He is not dependent on anyone. Tatapi rakite tare bahu jatna koilun ishvarer svatantricha rakite narilun. Still, I endeavored very hard to keep him here, but because he is completely independent, I was not successful. Raja kohe bata tumi vigya shiromani tumi tare Krishna kaha tate satyamani. The king said, Bhattacharya, you are the most learned and experienced person I know. Therefore, when you address Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Lord Krishna, I accept this as the truth. This is the way to advance in spiritual science. One must accept the words of an acharya, bona fide spiritual master, to clear the path for spiritual advancement. This is the secret of success. However, one's guide must be a spiritual master who is actually an unalloyed devotee, strictly following the instructions of the previous acharya without deviation. Whatever the spiritual master says must be accepted by the disciple. Only then is success certain. This is the Vedic system. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was a Brahmin and a realized soul, whereas Prataparudhra was a Kshatriya. Kshatriya kings used to obey very faithfully the orders of learned Brahmins and saintly persons, and in this way they would rule their country. Similarly, Vaishyas used to follow the king's orders, and Shudras used to serve the three higher social divisions. In this way, the Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras used to live cooperatively, performing their respective duties. Consequently, society was peaceful, and people were able to discharge the duties of Krishna consciousness. Thus, they were happy in this life and able to return home back to Godhead. Punarapi ihantara hoile agaman ekbaradeki kore safalanayan. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returns, I wish to see him just once in order to make my eyes perfect. Bhattacharya kohe teho asive albakale rohite tare ekstan chahiya virale. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya replied, His Holiness, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will return very soon. I wish to have a nice place ready for him, a place solitary and peaceful. Takorer nikatara hoibe nirjane emata nirnai kore deho ex stane. Lord Chaitanya's residence should be very secluded and also near the temple of Jagannath Puri. Please consider this proposal and give me a nice place for him. So Mahaprabhu took sannyas in the month of Magh, or January. Then the month of Falgun, he went to Jagannath Puri. And within a month or two, he had completely converted Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and then left for South India. So everything happened very quickly. But now Mahaprabhu's been gone to South India and he's traveled everywhere by foot. And now he's come back. And because Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was so well known, he is the court pandit and the court Brahmin. And by him, he was previously an impersonalist. And now that he's become such a devotee of Mahaprabhu, that everyone in Jagannath Puri is waiting for Mahaprabhu to return, headed by Maharaj Prataparudhra, who's very anxious to meet with Mahaprabhu. So this has really transformed everything, especially everything in Jagannath Puri. Raja Kohe Aichi Kashi Mishra Bhavan Thakurer Nikata Hoy Paramanirjan. The king replied, Kashi Mishra's house is exactly what you require. It is near the temple and is very secluded, calm, and quiet. This becomes known as the Gambhir, or Mahaprabhu's days. Eta kohe raja rohe utkantita kaya Bhattacharya Kashi Mishra kohila asya. After saying this, the king became very anxious for the Lord to return. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya then went to Kashi Mishra to convey the king's desire. Kashi Mishra kohe ami bora bhagavan mora grihe prabhu pader kabe avastan.
How many years was he gone in South India? How long was he gone, Mahaprabhu?
I don't know exactly.
It must have been a few years.
Yeah, it must have taken a little time, for sure.
I heard 6 to 7, someone said.
I don't think it was that long, because it's all contained within the Madhya-lila time, which is his travels to South India, his travels to Bengal, and his travels to Vrindavan. That's all within the period. The Madhya-lila is Mahaprabhu's travels, and I believe the Madhya-lila is something like 8 years or so. So you would consider that still there's some significant number of years with Mahaprabhu's travel in South India, at least a couple years. So, and that's my supposition. I'm not sure about the sequence, but it probably could be investigated. After saying this, the king became very anxious for the Lord to return. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya then went to Kashi Mishra to convey the king's desire. And Kashi Mishra, he also has, obviously, relationship with the king, Prataparudhra. From what I read, I remember something to the effect that the king would go regularly when he was in Puri to go massage the feet of Kashi Mishra. Because he's a Brahmin, and the king serving the Brahmins. Kashi Mishra koheyami bora bhagavan mora grihe prabhu pader habe avastan. When Kashi Mishra heard the proposal, he said, I am very fortunate that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord of all Prabhus, will stay at my home. In this verse, the word Prabhupada, referring to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is significant. Regarding this, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada comments, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, Sri Krishna, and all his servants address him as Prabhupada. This means that there are many Prabhus taking shelter under his lotus feet. The pure Vaishnava is addressed as Prabhu, and this address is an etiquette observed between Vaishnavas. When many Prabhus remain under the shelter of the lotus feet of another Prabhu, the address Prabhupada is given. Sri Nityananda Prabhu and Sri Advaita Prabhu were also addressed as Prabhupada. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Advaita Prabhu, and Sri Nityananda Prabhu are all Vishnu Tattva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord himself. Therefore, all living entities are under their lotus feet. Lord Vishnu is the eternal Lord of everyone, and the representative of Lord Vishnu is the Lord's confidential servant. So, I remember Srila Sridhar Maharaj commenting on this, that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was addressed as Prabhupada. When you referred to Prabhupada, everybody knew it was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And then when Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada was also addressed later as Prabhupada, some of the followers of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur were upset. But Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, actually this is very practically inconsequential. He said the term Prabhupada is a lesser term than referring to somebody as Vishnupad. And yet every disciple will refer to his spiritual master as Om Vishnupad. So Guru Maharaj said that the term Prabhupada nobody should take, look at it as something wrong just because somebody's referred to as Prabhupada. Maybe unusual in the sense that they knew Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur by that term, and then when somebody else was referred to by the same word, they looked at it as being something possibly objectionable, but Srila Guru Maharaj didn't give it much importance. At least I'll say that. He didn't give it much importance in the sense that he minimized their objections. But here, Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, gives some explanation about that. Emata Purushottama Bhashi Jatajan Prabhuke Milite Sabar Utkanditaman. Thus all residents of Jagannath Puri, which is also known as Purushottama, became anxious to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again. Thus all residents of Jagannath Puri, which is also known as Purushottama, became anxious to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again. Sarvalokeru Kantajabe Atyanta Borila Mahaprabhu Dakina Hoite Tabahi Aila. When all the residents of Jagannath Puri became extremely anxious to meet the Lord again, he returned from South India. Shunyanandita Hoila Sabakaraman Savayashe Sarvabhauma Koila Nibedan. Hearing of the Lord's return, everyone became very happy, and they all went to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and spoke to him as follows. And when Mahaprabhu was traveling in South India, it mentions that he spent 4 months of the Chaturmasya in Rangashetra. So that was 4 months right there. Then he stopped traveling. So, Shurniandita Hoila Sabakaraman Savayashe Sarvabhauma Koila Nibedan. Hearing of the Lord's return, everyone became very happy, and they all went to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and spoke to him as follows. Prabhura Sahitama Sabar Korahamilan Tomar Prasade Pai Prabhura Charan. Please arrange our meeting with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is only by your mercy that we can attain the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Bhattacharya Kohe Kali Kashi Mishra Ragare Prabhu Jaibin Tahan Milaba Sabare. The Bhattacharya replied to the people, tomorrow the Lord will be at the house of Kashi Mishra. I shall arrange for you all to meet him. Aradin Mahaprabhu Bhattacharya Sange Jagannath Darshana Koila Maharange. The next day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya with great enthusiasm to see the temple of Lord Jagannath. Mahaprasad Diyatahan Milila Seva Kagan Mahaprabhu Savakare Koila Alingan. All the servants of Mahaprabhu delivered remnants of the Lord's food to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All the servants of Lord Jagannath delivered remnants of the Lord's food to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They gave Mahaprabhu the Mahaprasadam of Lord Jagannath. In return, Mahaprabhu embraced them all. Darshan Kore Mahaprabhu Shalila Bahire Bhattacharya Anilatare Kashi Mishra Dare. After seeing Lord Jagannath, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left the temple. The Bhattacharya then took him to the house of Kashi Mishra. Sometimes I make mistakes because in my mind I'm reading ahead. Which doesn't always work so well. Kashi Mishra se parila Prabhu rachanane griya sahita atmatare koinla nivedane. When Mahaprabhu arrived at his house, Kashi Mishra immediately fell down at his lotus feet and surrendered himself and all his possessions. Prabhu Chaturbhuja Murti Tare Dekaila Atmasat Kori Tare Anlingana Koila. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then showed Kashi Mishra his forearm form. Then, accepting him for his service, the Lord embraced him. The Lord shows him his. Showed him his form as Vishnu for Chaturbhuja. So in the Chaitanya Bhagavad it mentions also to various devotees Mahaprabhu shows his divine form. Tabe Mahaprabhu tahan basila asane chodike basila Nityananda Bhattacharya. Mahaprabhu next sat down at the place prepared for him, and all the devotees headed by Lord Nityananda Prabhu surrounded him. Sukhe hoila deki Prabhu vasara samstan Jevasaya hoy Prabhu sarva samadhan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very happy to see his residential quarters in which all his necessities were taken care of. Sarvabhauma kohe Prabhu Jogya Tomara Basa Tumi Angikara Koro Kashi Mishra Asha. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, "This place is just befitting you. Please accept it. It is the hope of Kashi Mishra that you do." Prabhu kohe edeho Toma Sabakar Chaitumi Kohase Samata Amar. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "My body belongs to all of you. Therefore I agree to whatever you say." Tabe Sarvabhauma Prabhu Dakina Parshvevasi Milaita Lagila Sab Purushottama Basi. After this, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, sitting at the right hand of the Lord, began to introduce all the inhabitants of Purushottama, Jagannath Puri. Esab Lok Prabhu Vaishe Nilachale Utkandita Hoyache Save Toma Milibare. The Bhattacharya said, "My dear Lord, all these people who are residents of Nilachala, Jagannath Puri, have been very anxious to meet you. Trishita Chataka Jaiche Kore Hahakar Taiche Esab Save Kora Angikar. In your absence, all these people have been exactly like thirsty chatak birds, crying in disappointment. Kindly accept them." Now the chatak only will drink water that falls from the sky, from the rain clouds. It will not drink water of this earth. So all these people are waiting for Mahaprabhu, and here they're compared to chatak birds crying in disappointment. They're only waiting for Mahaprabhu to return. Kindly accept them. Jagannath Sevak E Nama Janardan Anavasare Kore Prabhu Sri Anga Sevan. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya first introduced Janardan, saying, "Here is Janardan, servant of Lord Jagannath. He renders service to the Lord when it is time to give nourishment to his transcendental body." I'm using the word Srila Govinda Maharaj used. Renovate. It used, but Govinda Maharaj used the word nourishment. Here is Janardana, servant of Lord Jagannath. He renders service to the Lord when it's time to renovate his transcendental body. But we don't say renovate, he's Navayogana, so give nourishment. During somebody can say, well, Prabhupada used the word renovate. I don't know what word Prabhupada used, because his tapes, he dictated in the tapes, and then they were edited by his editors, those who were putting them into the form of books. And then they re-recorded over the tapes. So we have no original tapes of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. We don't know. We can see Prabhupada's, what they say, original Chaitanya Charitamrita. Yes, original was original, but it's been edited. And so, all right. During Anavasar, after the Snanyatra ceremony, Lord Jagannath is absent from the temple for 15 days so he can be given nourishment. This occurs annually. Janardana, who is here being introduced to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was rendering this service at the time. This renovation of Lord Jagannath is also known as Navayogana, which indicates that the Jagannath deity is being fully restored to youth. But the deity himself is Navayogana. So he's not being restored to youth. He always is. He always is youthful. So there's a little bit the contradiction of using a word like renovate. Okay. But I'm not going to find fault with the use of that word. Srila Prabhupada has presented Chaitanya Charitamrita. And I will take the Chaitanya Charitamrita on my head. Krishna das nam e suvarna betradori. No. Krishna das nam e suvarna betradari. Shiki Mahati Nam E Likana Adhikari. Krishnadas Names Suvarna Betradari Shiki Mahati Nama E Likana Adhikari. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya continued, this is Krishnadas who carries a golden cane, and here is Shiki Mahiti, who is in charge of writing. The person in charge of writing is also called Dula Karanapara Prapta Karmachari. He is employed especially to write a calendar called Matala Panji. Pradyumna Mishra Iho Vaishnava Pradhan Jagannath Mahashayar Ihadashanam. This is Pradyumna Mishra, who is chief of all the Vaishnavas. He is a great servant of Jagannath, and his name is Das. In Orissa, most of the Brahmins have the title Das. Generally, it is understood that the word Das refers to those other than the Brahmins. But in Orissa, the Brahmins use the Das title. This is conferred by Chuli Bhatta. Actually, everyone is Das because everyone is a servant of the Supreme Personality of God. In that sense, the bona fide Brahmin has first claim to the appellation Das. Therefore, in this case, the designation Das is not incompatible. Murari Mahati Iho Shiki Mahati Rabai Tomar Charana Binu Ara Gatinai. This is Murari Mahiti, the brother of This is Murari Mahiti, the brother of Shiki Mahiti. He has nothing other than your lotus feet. So your lotus feet are everything to him. Murari Mahiti. Chandaneshwar, Simeshwar, Murari Brahman, Vishnudas, Iho, Jaye, Tomaracharan. This happens when I speak for a little while. My throat gets irritated. Here are Chandaneshwara, Simeshwara, Murari, Brahman, and Vishnudas. They are all constantly engaged in meditating on your lotus feet. Prahara Raja Mahapatra Iho Mahamati Paramananda Mahapatra Ihara Samati. This is Paramananda Praharaj, who is also known as Mahapatra. He is very, very intelligent. Praharaj is a designation given to a Brahmin who represents the king when the throne is vacant. In Orissa, between the time of a king's death and the enthronement of another king, a representative must sit on the throne. This representative is called Prahararaj. The Prahararaj is generally selected from a family of priests close to the king. During the time of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Prahararaj was Paramananda Prahararaj. Okay, Paramananda. Very good. Esa Vaishnav A. Chetrara Bhushan Ekanta Bhabe Chinte Savitomara Charan. All these pure devotees serve as ornaments to Jagannath Puri. They are always undeviatingly meditating upon your lotus feet. Tabe sabe bhume pare dandavadhaya sabalingila Prabhu prasada bharya. Tabe sabe bhume pare dandavadhaya sabalingila Prabhu prasada korea. After this introduction, everyone fell to the ground like rods. They offered their dandavats. Being very merciful upon them all, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced each of them. So before Mahaprabhu, all the men would offer Shashtanga Dandavats, full Dandavats. And ladies would offer Panchanga Dandavats. That's what it's called, right? Where they kneel down and touch their head to the ground. Women don't offer Shashtanga Dandavats. After this introduction, everyone fell to the ground like rods. Being very merciful upon them all, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced each of them. Hinakali Aila Taha Bhavananda Rai Chariputra Sangepare Mahaprabhu Pai. At this time, Bhavananda Roy appeared with 4 of his sons, and all of them fell down at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Bhavananda Roy had 5 sons, one of whom was the exalted personality known as Ramananda Roy. Bhavananda Roy first met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu after his return from South India. At that time, Ramananda Roy was still serving at his government post. Therefore, when Bhavananda Roy went to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he went with his other 4 sons. They were named Vaninath, Gopinath, Kalanidhi, and Sudanidhi. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya Bhavananda Ihara Pratamaputra Rai Ramananda. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya continued, this is Bhavananda Rai, the father of Sri Ramananda Rai, who is his first son. Tabe Mahaprabhu Tare Koila Lingan Stuti Kore Kohe Ramananda Vivaran. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced Bhavananda Rai and with great respect spoke of his son Ramananda Rai. Ramananda Hena Ratna Jahara Tanoi Tahara Mahima Loke Kahana Najai. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu honored Bhavananda Rai by saying, the glories of a person who has a jewel of a son like Ramananda Rai cannot be described within this mortal world. Sakat Pandu Tumi Tomara Patni Kunti Pancha Pandava Tomar Panchaputra Mahamati. You are Maharaj Pandu himself, and your wife is Kunti Devi herself. All your highly intellectual sons are representatives of the 5 Pandavas. So Mahaprabhu describes the 5 sons of Bhavananda Rai as Mahamati, very, very intelligent. Raya Kohe Ami Shudra Vishayi Adam Tabu Tumi Sparsha E Ishvara Lakan. After hearing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's praise, Bhavananda Rai submitted, I am a Shudra. I am in the fourth class of the social order, and I engage in mundane affairs. Although I am very fallen, you have still touched me. This is proof that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That you are the Ishwar himself. Nijagriha Vita Britya Panchaputra Sane Atma Samar Pilun Amitomaram Charane. Appreciating Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's favor, Bhavananda Rai also said, along with my home, riches, servants, and 5 sons, I surrender myself at your lotus feet. E Baninath Rohibe Tomaracharane Jabe Je Agyataha Koribe Sevane. This son, Vaninath Rai, will remain at your lotus feet to always immediately attend to your orders and serve you. Atmiya Gyane More Sankochana Koribe Je Jabe Ichatabe Se Agyadibe. My dear Lord, please consider me your relative. Do not hesitate do not hesitate to order whatever you desire at any time you desire it. So he says, not me Agyani, or your relative, but it means also, you can say, consider me as your own. Then you own me. Consider me as your own. That I'm inferring. Prabhu kohe e sankocha tumi nahapar janme tumi amara savamshe kinkar. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted Bhavananda Rai's offer, saying, I accept without hesitation because you are not an outsider. Birth after birth you have been my servant along with your family members. Dina Pancha Sata Bitare Asibe Ramananda Tarasange Purnahabe Amara Ananda. Sri Ramananda Roy is coming within 5 to 7 days. As soon as he arrives, my desires will be fulfilled. I take great pleasure in his association. Eta boli Prabhu tare koilan lingan, Taraputra sab shire darila charan. Saying this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced Bhavananda Roy. The Lord then touched the heads of his sons with his lotus feet. Amazing, huh? Amazing. Touched the heads. He embraced Bhavananda Roy, and to his four sons, Ramananda Roy is still coming, but to his four sons, he touches their heads with his lotus feet. That means they bowed their lotus feet at his heads, and he allowed that to happen. Tabe Mahaprabhu tare gare pataila maninath patanyayake nikate rokila. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then sent Bhavananda Roy back to his home, and he kept only Vaninath Patanayaka in his personal service. So, there is Bhattacharya sabloke vidai koraila tabe Prabhu kala Krishna dasa bolaila. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya then asked all the people to leave. Afterwards, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called for Kala Krishnadas, that was his servant in South India, who had accompanied the Lord during his South India tour. Prabhu Koheb. So Mahaprabhu asked everyone to leave, and then he calls for Krishnadas. This part is actually sad. But this is Prabhu Kohe Bhattacharya Shunaha Ihara Charita Dakina Giyachila Iho Amara Sahita. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "My dear Bhattacharya, just consider the character of this man who went with me to South India. Batthatharis Kachegela Amare Chadiya Batthatharis Hoite Ihare Anilun Udaria." He left my company to associate with the Batthatharis, but I rescued him from their company and brought him here. So Mahaprabhu, after he rescued Krishnadas, in the pages of Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's no evidence that he directly reprimanded him. At least it's not mentioned. But here it's mentioned when he gets back. Ebiyami ihan ani korilana bidai jahan icha jaha ama saninahi aradai. Now that I have brought him here, I am asking him to leave. Now he can go wherever he likes, for I am no longer responsible for him. That is very heavy. If Gurudev says that to somebody, it will be devastating. It will be completely devastating. You can go wherever you want. I would never want to hear that. Etashuni Krishnadas Kandite Lagila Madhyana Korite Mahaprabhu Chaligela. Hearing the Lord reject him, Kala Krishnadas began to cry. However, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, not caring for him, immediately left to take his noon lunch. He just walked out. Nityananda, Jagannath Mukunda, Damodar, Charijane, Jukti Tabe, Korila, Antar, After this, the other devotees, headed by Nityananda Prabhu, Jagadananda, Mukunda, and Damodar, began to consider a certain plan. Goda Deshe Pataite Chahe Ekjan Aike Kohibe Jai Prabodha Agaman. The Lord's four devotees considered, we want a person to go to Bengal just to inform Sachi Mata about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's arrival at Jagannath Puri. Advaita Srivasadi Jata Bhaktagan Sabai Ashibe Shuni Prabharagaman. After hearing news of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's arrival, devotees like Advaita and Srivas will certainly come to see him. So, this is, Nityananda will keep him in service, not reject him. He'll give shelter to him. And Govinda Maharaj said that some persons were rejected by Srila Sridhar Maharaj and Nityananda, and that Govinda Maharaj kept them in his service to give them shelter. And there's a story once of one person who was in Madras who was rejected by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And Srila Saraswati Thakur said to Srila Sridhar Maharaj, you have to be like Nityananda Prabhu and keep this man in service. Even though he was rejected by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur because of some attachments he had. Srila Saraswati Thakur was very strict. Advaita Srivasadi Jata Bhaktagan Savaya Shive Shuni Prabhora Agaman. After hearing news of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's arrival, devotees like Advaita and Srivas will certainly come to see him. E Krishna Dase Diva Gode Pataya Eta Kohe Tare Raki Bena Ashvasiya. Let us therefore send Krishnadas to Bengal. Saying this, they kept Krishnadas engaged in the service of the Lord and gave him assurance. Aradine Prabhu Stane Koila Nivedan Agyadeho Godadeshe Patai Ekjan. The next day all the devotees asked Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, please give permission for a person to go to Bengal. Tomar Dakinagaman Shuni Sachiai Advaitane Advaitadi Bhaktasab Achi Dukapai. Mother Sachi and all the devotees headed by Advaita Prabhu were all very unhappy due to not receiving news about your return from your South India tour. So Mother Sachi is referred to as I. That's what they would call her. Ekjan Jai Kahu Shubha Samachar Prabhu Kohe Se Kora Je Icha Tomar. One person should go to Bengal and inform them about the auspicious news of your return to Jagannath Puri. Upon hearing this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, do whatever you decide, or this means do whatever you like. Mahaprabhu knows what they're referring to, that they're sending Krishnadas there. And he says, all right, do whatever you like. I'm not concerned with this. So we say, Krishnadas say, Gode Pataila, Vaishnava Savake Dite Mahaprasada Dila. In this way, Kala Krishnadas went to Bengal, and he was given sufficient quantities of Lord Jagannath's food remnants to distribute there. Tabe Goda Deshe Aila Kala Krishnadas Navadipe Gela Teho Sachi Ai Bash. Thus Krishnadas went to Bengal when he first went to Navadip to see Mother Sachi. So I'm going to stop here. Tomorrow we'll continue. Yeah, I'll fix this. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jaravaya Nama. It's fixed. Jaravaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama. Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan. Giridhari Gopinatha Marana Mohan. Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra. Garadhara Shiva Sari Gora Bhattacharya. Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raguna. Shri Jiva Gopala Bhattadasa Raguna. Jai Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan. Jahoite Vignana Shabista Puran. Jai Gosai Jarmui Taradan. Tasabar Padarenu Mora Panchagra. Pader Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanibas. Janame More Abilas. Echai Gosai Jabe Brate Koilabas. Radha Krishna Nitya-lila Korila Prakash. Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majayaman. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyas. Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Jai Saparikara Shri Shri Guru Guranga Gandharvika Giridhari Ju Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Tilat Neriya Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Nirmal Acharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramansa Parvajaka Charyasthatara Sarashi Shrimad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramansa Parvajaka Charyasthatara Sarashi Shrimad Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Rupanuga Guru Bharga Ki Jai. Namachar Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dash Raghunath Shad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Prem Sigo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Harshivasri Shri Gaura Bhattacharya Ki Jai. Vishvavaranya Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Kusha Mashra Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Navadip Dham Ki Jai, Shri Mayapur Ki Jai, Saparshada Shri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai, Saparshada Shriman Mahaprabhu Ki Jai, Shri Koladvip Ki Jai, Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai, Sokel Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Sevashram Ki Jai, Ganga Devi Ki Jai, Tulasi Maharani Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Govardhan, Sham Kunda Radha Kunda Kalindi Yamuna Ju Ki Jai, Shri Purushottam Madam Ki Jai, Baladev Subhadra Jagannath Ju Ki Jai, Bhakti Vigna Vinashaya, Shri Nrsingadev Ki Jai, Bhakta Prabhara Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, all the assembled devotees Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Jai Bhakti Lalita Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.